Hi there, hello everyone, welcome to Ghostman Ghost Talk part 4 for 2021. So have you guys, for those of you who are praying or doing offerings by the road, have you done your offering? If you have done your offering, kindly type so that at least I know you guys are there. A few things before I go. Today's our topic is going to be what type of house that likes to attract spirit. Whether your house has the right condition, your house has the right environment for spirits to dwell on, for spirits to stay, and what type of those houses. So we will be going through the 5 most common points or the 5 most common factors that a spirit will dwell on a particular house. Other than the common one, that means there are people who died at the house, passed away, tragic death, accident, murder, and all that. That one is, we don't discuss that because that one is very obvious. So we talk about the thing that is quite common, but usually people don't think about it. Okay, so can you guys hear me? If you can hear me, kindly type 1. Kindly type 1 so that I know you guys can hear me. Okay, so as you guys know, for the prizes, for the prizes of sharing out, it's actually very easy. And before we go on, allow me to just explain a little bit. Because I find that it's already today is the 4th day of our Ghostman Ghost Talk, okay, our 4th show. So the idea here is that you share the Ghostman Ghost Talk live, you share it out, and when you share it out, there's a button for you to select in terms of your privacy, either to your friends or you yourself only, or to the public. So you need to click the public, and then you just write what are things that you have learned, or you just share out later. You can edit, you can just write after the show finish what you have learned. Then you have a very high chance of obtaining this ginseng soap that's good for all the skin disease. This one is all wrapped up because it's all wrapped up. It's supposed to have 1 piece of ginseng in each of the soap. Okay, so it comes with this one to make more bubbles according to the maker. Okay, so this is a soap. I think it's worth about 15 or 20 ringgit, I don't know. But together with the postage, it's going to be about 25 or more already to anyone in Malaysia. So if you just share it out, you have a chance. So as you can see, like people like Yam Ming, one of our members here, he already got 2 straight in a row. So it's a very simple thing for you to share out, very easy. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit of statues, as Jason says. So we go more easy going tonight. For you want to wear vampire bear brick? I cannot. This one more expensive. This is why it's more expensive than other statues. Okay. Okay. Then there are some questions that I've received so far. Already 3 episodes. Today is the 4th episode, so I received some questions for people. So I think later, maybe on episode 10 or so, as you can collect your questions that maybe after you listen, you find a little bit silly, or maybe is it logic, you're wondering, you can forward me all those questions. Either you direct message or PM private message me, is fine. Because on the 10th day, this one my eldest son, Liu Ren, asked me to clarify. He said, if not, then people will think that you get all your knowledge from the book. So one of my son, my youngest son, has this comic book that he has read since I think about 6 years back. I think when he was now he's already 12, 13. I think maybe 8 or 9 years old, I don't know, I forgot. I bought him because he loves a lot of ghost stories. When he was growing up, he liked to read about ghosts and things like that. So inside this book, a lot it's just amazing, is that as we approach right this week, that means from Monday onwards, I can see on social media, there are many masters and teachers come out and talk about what are the do's and don'ts in Lunar 7 month. And surprisingly, found by my younger son JJ, those things that they describe are actually in this comic book. It's written, this comic book I think was written, I had it post below, the post below that day. So I decided to go and buy a new copy so that I will give it out to the person that asked me the most interesting questions, the most interesting statements that they've heard online or offline by people who talk about do's and don'ts of the 7 lunar months. You can confirm with me, and then I'll post it up. So we'll make one of the episode talking about all those myths and legends of and so-called old wives' tales about do's and don'ts about Lunar 7 month. So then the one that submits the most questions or the most interesting questions, then I will send you a free copy of this book. This book, I need money to buy, but I'll give it to you free. It's brand new, as you can see, it's wrapped in plastic. This is not JJ's copy. This is bought brand new. Okay, so inside, if you got this book next year, before Lunar 7 month, you can be as good as those other teachers that are talking about the do's and don'ts, maybe even better, because this one has more detail. All right, so this is a good something for you to aim for, so that you don't have to listen to all those funny things that people talk about Lunar 7 month. One of it, just today, I recently, on one channel, I scroll one channel, there's this teacher talking about you cannot wear black color t-shirts, then you cannot wear black color t-shirts. At the same time, you cannot eat meat during Lunar 7 month, and if you have to eat meat, then you have to chant, and then you blow up your face yourself, blow your face for your face to become brighter. And then after that, later I was in the kitchen while my wife is cooking. I just scrolling through the social media, and then there's another teacher coming along the Facebook saying that you shouldn't hang your clothes, the black, red and white color clothes, you shouldn't hang outside in the Lunar 7 month. Then my straight direct statement from watching all this after a whole day of watching skimming through all this is that don't forget, ladies and gentlemen, ghost was once a human being. Okay? Please do get that in your mind. Ghosts are once a human being. Okay? As silly as some of those people may be giving you the tips, majority of the people are not silly. So when they pass away into the next dimension, they are not silly as well. So they won't be going after your red clothes, your white clothes, your black clothes, just because you hang it outside. Now if you walk past anybody's house, any decent one, of course you are not those pin tai lo, sitting on motorbike one waiting for the auntie's bra or auntie's panties one. That one is different. More, I think 99.9% of my viewers are normal people. So when you walk past every house, you see other people's laundry, you wouldn't even look at it. What's more, you go and identify the color. Come on. I think the standards of spiritual practitioners have actually really gone down the drains a little bit like what's in our parliament. Okay, so we're not talking about anything about politicians, but it's really getting ridiculous. Okay, it's getting ridiculous. Then, actually, this is one of my rare white T-shirts that I have. If you notice, and some of my temple members will notice, most of the time I wear black T-shirts. So, tonight, not to offend many aunties and uncles, I decide to wear white t-shirt. But then when I showed my mom, right, I showed my mom, hey, look at this new t-shirt. My mom said, Choi, don't wear this style of shirt. Why you want to wear? I said, okay, well, it looks good. Why not? Just to match with the theme of the day, of the night. Actually, tonight after I finish this show, then I will have to I have to go out my house to go and burn all those paper offerings for all our good brothers and sisters. So there's nothing wrong. Ghosts won't look at your t-shirt, right? If you ghosts look at your t-shirt, then you wear pagoda one. Maybe we wear pagoda, look more like Yimana, all right? Then the ghost won't follow you. So Gerald, t-shirt, the t-shirt for sale. Import all the way from China. Very fast. Actually, the back of the t-shirt looks even nicer. One big logo with one of the zombies, the Chinese zombies. Actually, look very nice. Anyway, do share out your piece. Okay, so tonight we are going to talk about what are the criteria or what are the types of house that will attract spirits. Many people, like for example, if you have, some of you, you want to go and rent a new house. Some of you, maybe you want to buy some new properties. For some of you have been waiting this long, like the economy is tanking, and then people have been telling you maybe next year or next few months is the optimum time for you to invest in more properties. You know, every day, all this knowledge you can get easily. Internet, a lot of people are bombarding us with all this. Or maybe you want to buy one to rent out to people, and all those things. Or your friends are intending to moving in, or they rent a new place. What are the things that you should be looking out for in terms of houses that easier to attract spirits? Then we talk about, right? How many of you have had friends who have lived in haunted house before? Can you type ghost? So if you type ghost, then I know you have known someone, or you yourself have lived in a haunted house before. You can type ghost, so we will know. Some of you have experienced what it's like to be or to be in your friend's house, or to be in your own house, a haunted place. What it's like to be in a haunted place. Okay, so we will talk about, there are a few things about characteristics about haunted house. Number one is that why stagnancy attracts spirits, and what type of house interior will have stagnancy. Of course, you don't worry, we will go very easy. That means the moment you look at that house, that environment, instantly you know that this house has stagnancy. You don't have to take out compass, you know, or ask you to search for a certain direction, and then that one is stagnant and see the flow. No need. Once this tip that I'm going to teach you, very easy, just look at it, you know, this one shows stagnancy. Then the second thing is that we're going to talk about how having a lot of collectible statues like this, are also easy, best place for the formless to take form. Okay, and we'll talk about the signs on your walls, on your roof. What are the signs that spirits are already starting to inhabit or share the space with you? And also which specific location in the house that you need to look out for. And the final one is, of course, the first one that we're going to talk about. From the outside, how do you qualify that place is an ideal place for spirits to gather? Not yet going to the house, to gather. Okay? Gerald is saying Barbie doll. Barbie doll also, like, if you collect a lot of Barbie doll and then you put on display on your cabinet, you know, you put display a lot, then it's also easier to attract. Anything that has statue forms, there's another side effects of having too many collectible statues. Later I'm going to talk about it, okay? Barbie doll, maybe you can balance up, like the yin yang, balance up with Ken and Barbie. Then you have two. I'm just joking. Any dolls better not have too many. Okay, share this for those of you who have friends who intend to move into a new place or just moved into a new place, so that they don't make the big mistakes. Okay, the first one is just that many people, when you met up with, it reminds me of recent incidents that I know. It doesn't mean that if you are a Feng Shui person, if you missed out all these points, it's also very easy. Even I've seen people who are practicing Feng Shui full time, they also got into a house that's haunted and they cannot fix it. Because, as I've always said, spiritual and Feng Shui, it's not a together thing. It happens to be together in this person is because my interest and cultivation started at the same time. But for many people, it don't have to be. And then it's that the public always wants to pull it to become one, but it never was one, because these are two different levels of knowledge. Okay, so the first thing is what we look at before you arrive at your friend's house or your own house that you want to select out. The first thing that you notice is the outside of the house. If it's house or condos as well, apartments as well, what do you look at? You look at the trees. Okay, so if the area or that particular house or that particular condos surrounding has more or trees, that means a lot of trees surrounding it, most of the time sunlight can't get through, then you have to be careful, because trees are one of the ideal places for spirits to dwell. That means they dwell on the outside because trees is on the outside of the house, it's not inside yet. But the moment that they gather more and more on the outside, so it's easier for them to come in. The chances, the risk of it is easier to come in. Okay. There are people who reported. I have people who reported that my broadcast is interrupted. Anybody experienced this? Anybody experiences broadcast interruption? If you interrupted, kindly type I so I can know. If everything is okay, you type 1. Okay. All okay, Gerald? Okay, that's fine. Then we continue. Good hiding place for spirits. Trees are the ideal hiding place for spirits. It's the ideal hiding place for spirits. Why? It's because just now I think got interrupted because I talk too much gossip. I tell about other people's problem. Right? Maybe don't want to let you guys know. Okay. So it's a good hiding place for spirits on top of trees. So any trees that above 3 years old, that means it's already from the day you planted, it grow. That means either the species grow very fast or very slow. The moment it has 3 years or more, it's very highly chance that you will have a spirit dwelling in it. Either a benevolent spirit or, we don't know, some other wandering spirits. It could be, depending on your location and also depending on your luck. So if it's surrounded by a lot of old trees or a lot of trees that are maybe 10 or 15 years or longer, then you have to be very careful. If it's covering your house and sunlight is very hard to get through, or you have sea branches coming in, closing in on your windows, then it means that your house, we consider it a very yin type of house. Yin type of house means that it is easier to have spirits. Then a lot of people say, it's much more cooling. My house with lots of trees cooling. Yeah, it's cooling. That's why it's cooling for you. It's also shielding the UV rays for our spiritual friends. So the spiritual friends also like to stand or hide themselves either below the tree, on the tree branches, and so on. So there are certain types of, and then one of the things is that if it's a house, you're buying over a new house, or you're buying over an older house. New house is easier because you can still move the trees away, asking just for the developer. But older house is that once the house is you bought over the house, then it's very hard for you to cut down the trees. Certain countries in the world, they don't allow you to cut down the trees. Even in Malaysia, if the tree got big, I just got to know this because we are buying some solid wood furniture. Then the guy was telling us, the salesperson was telling us, he was one of the owner's son, he was telling us that even big trees, right, you want to cut it down, even if it's in your property, you have to get the permission of the forestry department. They will come and assess, and then they will come and whether the trees can be cut down, and when it's cut down you have to apply for permit. So it's a lot of deal. And then not only the human aspects of it, you have to get the permission. The problem is that you have to relocate the spirits that are on the tree. A lot of people, you don't know. You don't know that. You think that, never mind, I just cut the tree, then the problem. I've had one friend in KL. He's a Malay guy. So they did some renovations in front of their own home. So they decided to cut the tree. The tree was about 10, 12 years old. So the moment they cut the trees, right, that particular whole year, everything in his business went haywire. This was, I think, more than 4 or 5 years back. Everything in his business suddenly went haywire, upside down. A lot of things that they cannot figure out in so many years in business suddenly became a lot of problems because they accidentally already disrupted the spirits that are dwelling in that tree. Okay. Then the second one that I had also that I know of is also in Penang, in Balik Pulau. There's this one old couple. So they also have trees in front of their house because they live in those stilt houses, so they have trees very close. So also they decide to chop the trees off. Of course, no date selection, no nothing, no relocation, no asking Bomo come for help. So they just decide to chop the tree off. So once they chop the tree off, in less than 1 week, when they were riding their motorbike from Balik Pulau down towards to town, they met with an accident. The wife died, and then his leg was injured. So it's a tragedy. All this due to cutting of a particular tree. And then also the third case that I've been exposed to is one of the case many years back. The person decided to cut a tree in front of the house. The tree was having a spirit dwelling in that particular tree. Once they cut it down, also they experienced a lot of havoc in their house in terms of jobs, loss of jobs and things like that, a lot of economic problems, obstacles and so on. So once they got us in terms of our temple, in my meditative stabilization, I know that the spirit was disrupted. So ended up we have to relocate the spirit into a outside earth deity for them. So then later then things got better. So also the latest one I've written in my Yin Yang journal, also from the guy cutting a tree, a cactus tree in front. That you can search for my blog, yinyangjournal.blogspot.com. Also another case that I've handled before, also cutting of trees. So remember, if you want to cut any trees, you better get a relocation. You better do a relocation process. Because if you don't do a relocation process, if there's any spirits on the tree, once you straight cut it down, then you have problems. Sometimes the strongest one may not hit you. That means maybe if you're the father of the house or you're the mother of the house, your luck is very strong, then you wouldn't get any problem. It always goes for the weakest one in the house. So the weakest one might be your senior, might be your mom, might be your dad, might be your children, and then later you have problems. Then only a lot of times people, when they had problems, only then they start to think back, hey, what have I done? Oh, we cut a tree. And then from there only they go and seek for spiritual help. Then there's already you already have to experience some of the side effects. Okay? Dominic is saying the house surrounded by trees. I did experience a ghost when I entered the house. Did some offers and now okay, live on the countryside. Yeah, your side, Europe, a lot of ghosts. So hopefully you did some offering, it left, or maybe it's just staying in the house, don't bother you, also no problem. 7 months, why cannot do house renovation? Cannot do house renovation is usually if you haven't yet moved in. If you haven't yet moved in, then you can do. If you move in, also no problem, actually you can do. It's just that people don't want to do. Because those who are in the construction business, they don't like to do because it's one of their pantang. And also one of the reasons is because if you had any spiritual encounters or problem in Lunar 7 month, most, or if I can say most, almost 90 to 95% of the temples are closed for any spiritual intervention. So it's very difficult for them to get help. So they know this, therefore they don't want to do any renovations. Okay. Also, there are certain types of trees that are easier to have spirits. For example, trees that are like have willows, those with long types of what we call that, the one that doesn't use, I forgot the name. Okay, and also certain types, especially it's with certain types of trees that you can see it expands its root very fast. That is also having a problem. So you have to look at it in such a way. Ruben was saying, is it possible to live with spirits? I can't get trees you cut because I'm renting a house. Usually if it's outside, then you just make sure the trees, the spirits, if there is a spirit on the tree, we are not saying all the trees have spirits. Just make sure they don't get into your house. Okay, make sure that your house is well protected. That means the perimeter is well protected. Jason is saying, will sandalwood incense help smoke scare away ghosts or spirits residing in the statue? Won't sandalwood won't. The more sandalwood you put, then sometimes the spirit likes it even more. So then they will tarik, then it becomes stronger. Then you feed on the spirit. So don't DIY anything. So don't, yeah. If the house has trees and you want to remove, there are ways, but we will find another episode. We'll talk about this. Okay. For those of you who are temple members, later maybe I'll explain in our temple forum. Okay, so we will explain because the process is quite long. So if you don't have any backup, better don't do it on your own. Okay, so this is from the outside, right? So if you see there are a lot of trees and many tree branches starting to come to the window, starting to come to the back of the house, and then daytime, let's say from noon, from 11 until maybe 3 or 4, also there's no sunlight coming into place or very minimal sunlight. And if it happens to be a single apartment block or those not high type of apartments, maybe 4 or 5 stories high, and then they have a lot of trees beside, those are the ones that you can take out. If you're renting, you can filter it out. Don't select those places, even though it's cooling. But then at night you will have also many other high chances of occupants that comes to the place. And you will never know, because especially the longer the history of the tree, the longer the lifespan of the tree, then the more it is easier to have dwellings, different type of dwellings on the tree itself. So don't chop off any trees unnecessarily. Our environmentalist has been warning us all along, don't chop trees, don't chop trees. Now we also have another spiritual reason why you don't chop trees easily. Don't chop off trees easily. Even in those who are doing like forestry department, those that always go for checking up on the species and so on in the jungle, You ask them, they also have their own method of protecting themselves when they go out for climbing up those big trees and so on. So all these trees also have really problems. Okay? Then the next one we look at is, I teach you a way to look for stagnant qi in the house. Okay, look for stagnant qi. So after you look at the trees surrounding, whether there's problem, other than there's a problem, wait, let me answer a question before we go on to the stagnant qi. Jason here says, garden has an electromagnetic field spot. Will the house be prone to spirits or ghosts? It won't be prone for spirits or ghosts to enter. It's just that means that that particular area in the garden you'll see more sort of like portal. That means they'll move in and out of the place through that magnetic influence, electromagnetic field spot. Okay, it's just like a portal. Later we'll talk about that in specific direction. If you have any trees that die, also will have spirits on it. Tree died, never mind. As long as you know why spirits like to take on to trees. Trees are areas where they can have shading. They can have some shades, number one. Number two is that trees have forms and it doesn't move that much. So there's a stability. So because they are formless, they are a form of energy, then they are formless. So formless, they like to stick towards the one with the form. And the form itself, it's there. Trees are a living thing, so it's easier for it to take shelter or hiding in those trees. Okay, we'll go about the hoarding part. How do you spot for stagnant qi? When you walk into the house, first thing that you look at, that means your own house, and now you inspect your house. You inspect your house from one of the ways we look at houses. The first thing that you check on the house is whether there's any stagnant qi points or stagnant qi a lot. So how do you look at that? Is that you look at whether there's any clutter. It means things that are stacked up around, a lot of untidy things in the house. That means they don't tidy the house. So the more untidy the house it is, the easier it is for spirits to dwell in that house. They like untidiness. So if you're married condo, then it's very hard to have spirits in your house because everything is so tidy. But the more untidy the house, the easier it is for that particular space to have stagnant qi. Especially if you have old things, old things, people who like to collect a lot of different types of antiques, and then they are untidy. Some people, collector, right? They like to collect a lot of things, but those things are not tidy up. They just have this and that everywhere. Boxes from 10, 15 years ago are still there, and then there's nothing inside, so they have a lot of things. Those are the areas where you have stagnant qi. Some is the living room, some is the room itself. So why it will be stagnant qi is because once you have untidy spaces, untidy locations around the space, the qi cannot flow easily. Once it cannot flow easily, then the qi gets stagnant. So once it gets stagnant, why do spirits like stagnant qi? It's because spirits, as I've just said just now, spirits are formless. So when they are formless, they do not like a lot of movement or drastic drastic current of qi going through. Because they themselves are formless, they like to stay or maintain in places with stagnant qi. Because the qi is stagnant, then it's not so easily disturbed. Their whatever life force that they are left in their existence. So therefore, If you have a lot of clutter in the house, it means the Qi is stagnant already, guaranteed. And then some people, because they collect or they have old clothes, old furnitures, old sofas, all those unclean ones, then you start to stagnant for a while, then start to have the smell. Then your smell start to have the smell, the stagnant Qi. Those are perfect place for spirits to dwell. If you have been to houses that have spirits before, the first and foremost thing that you will notice the moment that you walk in is that you find that you cannot breathe. It's like people choking up, you know. It's like people choking up. Your oxygen level, maybe our normal oxygen level in the air is actually 20%. So if you walk into those houses with spirits, usually it's like 15% or even less, or 10%. So you find that you cannot breathe. Even though the owner may be switch on the fan and things like that, but you find it, you cannot breathe. It's very overwhelming, and the air itself is very compressive. So that itself is stagnant Qi. So with stagnant Qi, then spirits are able to gather, stay, hide in that particular space. So if your whole house has a lot of boxes, trash, old items that are untidy, then it's easiest to have extra friends who feels like how you say, you have extra friends that will stay together with you. Not only your staff, a lot of staff, but you have a lot of friends as well. Okay, because there's no flow of Qi. Okay, so we'll go back to somebody asking question, Kelvin asking, does chopping the tree, entire killing trees compared to trimming and pruning? Yeah, chopping, pruning and trimming is fine. It's just that when you cut the whole tree, that means they don't have a shelter anymore. So they will look for the nearest shelter. Unfortunately, after the tree is cut down, the nearest shelter will be your home. Because previously they're staying outside. Now once you cut that off, they have no place to go, then they have to go into your home already. Gerald says storeroom. Jason here is that feel like your chest is being pressed, not enough oxygen. Yeah, too much sadness in the house will also cause this. Too much sadness, if you have too many old things, some of the things also will be attached. We don't know. Too much sadness is another way of the Qi in the environment. You too much grief, too much sadness, too much anger. Those are the heavy emotions. If there are the more heavy emotions in that particular house, the easier it dwells. Then it's a different thing. It's a different thing because we're talking about two different types of things. Just now we talk about stagnant Qi. The other one now is we call it the quality or the emotions in that particular house. Now you have to realize is that some spirits, they feed on this type of emotions. They feed on grief, they feed on anger, they feed on depression. So this is how they feed on the Qi. So the people that stays in those house together with the spirits will cause the person to have outbursts of anger, to have depression, to be depressive, to be grieving uncontrollably. They don't know why, because they are constantly being exposed to the energy of the spirit. So then they feed on your spirit, on your particular emotions. The spirits will feed on your emotions. So also that's why whenever the house or the environment have ghosts or spirits, one of the likely things you'll notice that there are outbursts of anger. There's a lot of outbursts of anger. So outbursts of anger, why? Is because spirits feed on those anger. They attach, then they want to feed on those anger. So they cause the human beings in that particular environment. They elicit those emotions in you, so you feed. So, but normal people, you wouldn't notice. Because why? Most of us are not mindful of our surrounding, number one. If you're mindful of surrounding, then those people won't get a lot of untidy things in the environment because you're mindful of your environment. Second thing, that if you're mindful of your emotions, then it's not easy for you to be affected by spirits already, because every that few moments you realize what you are doing. So you don't have outbursts of anger, you don't have easily get depressed, because you're self-evaluating. Hey, how come I'm feeling this depression, and it shouldn't be, or why do I have sudden feeling very resentful towards another family members or towards another things that happen. So your mindfulness, that's not easy to affect your mind, but most people are not aware. So in and out, day in and day out, it becomes the norm in that particular house. So therefore the spirits continue to be able to feed on it. It doesn't mean that spirits will like to come out, ooh, boo, like you like in those movies, or pull your blanket, or jump up to your room on top and scare you. Not all of them is like that. Some, the most common one is that they will feed on your emotions. So if they feed on your emotions, they can last very long, coexist together with you. You supply the emotions, then they feed on it only. Okay, let's look at our questions. All trees yin or got young trees? Seldom they have young trees. I've seen people say that cactus will prevent spirits, right? I've seen cactus, spirits inhabit into cactus. Then some people say Bodhi trees are holy. I've also seen halflings inside Bodhi trees. So there's no yang or yin trees. The moment the trees it doesn't move, it's fixed, it's already considered yin already, even though it's a living being. Of course, women also be considered yin, men yang. Women also move around, same as you and me. So it's just that the characteristics is different only. May Lily say that if you open the windows and let the qi flow around, will be better. Unfortunately, haunted houses, even though you open all the windows, right, the compressed feeling is still there. So you have to notice. If you go to your friend's house or your house, you notice that the very peculiar thing is that people who reside in houses that are haunted, usually they don't know, because day in and day out they are so used to it. So they don't know that it's different unless they go into a house that has really vibrant qi, and then they can sense the difference. But if not, only people from vibrant qi houses or good qi houses, they go to a house that has this type of characters, then immediately you can feel it. Even though you try to open up all the windows, it will still feel the same. It's just that you can see the wind strong outside, but inside is still like an environment by its own. Okay, so Gerald says that if factory renovation remove trees, bad things will go into boss who give instruction, or manager will give instruction to contractor, or the contractor that remove the tree. The contractor that removes the tree will be the first one hit. The manager who gives the instruction will be involved only as long as they are in the thing. The boss will experience in terms of their business having problems. I've known some employees of large companies that do deforestation. I don't want to say around this region. I don't want to say which one. If I say which one, then they will be able to track their employee, and then they will come track me. The bosses that do rapid deforestation, that means they clear the forest, they sell those balak, they sell those logs, those trees. They open up huge areas. One, usually their managers end up with cancer after a few years in the job. Number two, the big boss don't get it, because maybe the big boss luck is good, but the big boss children have a lot of problems. That his or her children's in the family have a lot of problems. So you don't think that deforestation, if you're the big boss, happening far away on a distant land, you can do, even though there's spirits and so on, you will have, if no ritual was done due to the deforestation, no rituals was done, the money is really good lah, of course, because if you are the big boss, the money is really good in terms of helping countries to deforest, but you will come with side effect. These are what we call karmic occupations. It will come with side effects, and as I've always said in many of my lives, sometimes the side effect doesn't come to you directly. It comes to the one weakest in your family. It could be your children, and then, or sometimes it comes to the people that you love the most. They cannot hit you, so they hit the one that you love the most. So that's where you feel the pain the most. So sometimes it's like this. As people say in Cantonese, "Sek tat ham yu tai tat hot." You can eat the salted fish. You must be able to withstand the saltiness of the condition. If you cannot stand the heat, don't stay in the kitchen. Okay, nobody's exempted. Nobody's exempted. Okay. We have a question by Li Feng here. Is it true that a lot of chanting is done in the house? It will attract more spirits? And if it's so, why? It depends on what chanting that you are doing. If you are playing the recorder of chanting, then it's easier to attract spirits. Some people, they play 24/7 or from morning till night or from night till morning. Then it's easier to attract spirits because spirits likes to hear. They thought that once the chanting is being done, then it can calm their mind. Spirits also, their mind moves, how we say, because they are formless. So formless is like static. So that means sometimes you feel your existence is like it's there and it's not there. I don't know how the vibrations is there. So whenever they hear the chanting, the mantras and the specific rhythm, right, then they are able to stabilize down. So they are able to stabilize down, then that's why they like to hear people doing chanting. Also, they hope to get some merits. As I've said in yesterday's episode, when you are formless, it's not easy for you to obtain any merits anymore. So whenever there are places that have merits for those benevolent spirits or spirits that they don't harm anyone, it's just that they cannot go for rebirth due to certain attachment or they miss the opportunity, then whenever there is any places that have any chance or any hope for obtaining some form of merits, then they will gather there. It's not their intention, or there's people chanting there, we go and disturb. No, their main reason is that they want to get some merits. Okay, so if you view it from a compassion point of view, then it's not a problem. It's not a problem. Spirits are everywhere anyway. Okay, I think I have to split in two parts. Now today talk until the first part, half only. So tomorrow maybe we'll continue. We'll go with some questions. Sifu, some people are coming in the preliminary practice, they do it at home, they have this short practice, they're getting married. Already attractive goals as well. As I'd like to say, if Vajrayana practice itself is already shortcut of the many shortcuts, Cho or Chod itself is even more shortcut. Not many people would have the mental faculty to prepare themselves to do this because of their attachments that are still there. Some people, if you are afraid or you are worried about spirits, then you should not be doing anything in relation to Chod. These are the things that should be relayed to you by your lamas, or relayed to you by your rinpoches, or relayed to you by the organizers. Problem is that many organizers, they just want to organize for the sake of organizing. Previously, before COVID, they want to do events that are different names so they can attract those people who are chasing after practice after practice. But if you're preliminary, you haven't done enough to have that realizations about being compassionate first, because compassionate, you'll beat everything else. Because if you're compassionate, it will overwhelm your fearfulness of spirits. It will overwhelm your fearfulness of your mind in giving you all those illusions and visions. And having that strong foundation, then you understand more about impermanence. As I've said just now, why a lot of teachers suddenly they come out and then they talk about so many in Lunar 7 months about ghosts. You must be very afraid. You cannot wear black. You cannot wear these certain colors. You cannot turn around. People call you, or you must be when you are eating food. You must be very wondering. You must be very. All of this is, I said, is that they are marketing on fear, on your childhood fear. Most people never get through that. Impermanence, as I've said, do remember, if you don't remember anything else from today's half episode, and tomorrow we'll continue part 2. All spirits, ghosts, we're not talking about halflings, all ghosts, they are once human. They are once human. They don't become a horrible monster when they die. Just like you and me, one day also we will become ghosts. If you are unfortunate enough, maybe due to some attachment, our children, or our property, or our debts, or our money, or some things we have done incomplete, we will also become spirits for we don't know how many years or how many generations or things like that. So there's nothing to be fearful about. People like to talk about ghosts as if they are alien beings, or at least they're talking about ghosts like they are virus, some kind of virus. You must be very fearful. Maintain social distance. You must cannot, certain things you cannot wear, you cannot say, you cannot look at it. This is just spreading fear without much understanding. The moment that we understand they are once human beings, the reason why they are here, the reason why they are dwelling, and most of the time is we encroach onto their space. Like for example, you cut off the trees. Where else the ghosts want to go? If you are spirit, where else can you go? Because previously you were hiding from the sun when it's daylight. You're hiding the sun on the tree, right? You're hiding somewhere, maybe this is a tree, you're hiding somewhere here. So now people chop off the tree, then you have no place to go. Where you want to go? Straight you will go into the house, although they don't want to be in your house, but they have to be in your house because they have nowhere else to go. All right, so if you think it from this point of view, then we are slowly getting ourselves from the fearful part into looking things from a larger good perspective. And from more larger perspective, then we look at it from a more compassionate perspective. Okay, of course, I don't expect that everyone, because a lot of people, they don't want to listen to this. If I tell people like this is all bullshit in terms of people talking about midnight you cannot turn your head, all this is bullshit, pure bullshit. People don't want to hear because I sort of destroyed their childhood imaginations on ghosts, or their once understanding of ghosts through the Hong Kong movies of Lam Ching Ying. Most of Lam Ching Ying's movie, in the early days, the script was written by Sammo Hung, was written by Hong Kam Po. So Hong Kam Po has no cultivation whatsoever, but the reason he wrote all that is because it's to get it more scary. Of course, Lam Ching Ying comes from a family lineage of Mao San, but most of his stuff inside is made up by Sammo Hung. So a lot of people, they don't know that. They thought that, Hong Kong people, because they have no culture, no understanding of cultures, or haven't yet know so many of Hong Kong people, so they think that they watch those movies, it's how Cantonese people in the olden days, their ghost is like this. It's so far away from the truth, but then people don't want to know, because once knowing that, Allah, you look at the movie, not interesting anymore. So but there are certain movies that have quite real adaptations on what we are doing in the field. That means what spiritually the cases that we've met before have much similarity to the spirits that have been portrayed in the Hollywood movies. So if I have a chance, then we'll talk about that. Mainly you can go and watch the movie Conjuring. So Conjuring, because it's following the Warrens' experiences are in their paranormal, so it's very close to what we are doing, and the spirits that we encounter. It's quite the same, it's just that the cultures are different. So those are actually even more follow back to the way it is with spirits. Okay? Yaming says, house got Buddha or deities and also land deity. This spirit will come into the house of Stagnancy. If your house is Stagnancy, most of the people there, 90% of the time, their altar is also nothing there already. Because the place is unkept, the altar also is unkept, and because the altar is unkept, whatever consecration that's done before is also off. So it could have very high chance some other things have set onwards onto the altar. So if the deities and the land deities are there, then the spirits won't easily come into the place. But most of the time it's no longer there already. Okay, that's the house why it has problems. Okay, so this will be part 1. Tomorrow we'll talk about 2 more parts about statues, and 3 more parts of today we managed to talk about 2 only. So we'll talk about 2 to 3 more. So tomorrow we'll talk about the statues one. And this one got nothing in it unless you saw the eyes open. If you saw the eyes open, then you must inform me about something already. Okay, so movie Nang Na. Yeah, Nang Na is talk about Mena is the famous ghost in Thailand. We will talk more about ghosts as we progress. Today is the first day of the lunar 7 month only, man. So we'll talk until the end of the lunar 7 month, man. So maybe I'll schedule from the 15th onward. We go into the more gory, more horrific part. There are many stories, and then we will talk about how human control ghosts to do their bidding, and that's where it gets interesting. Okay, so now we are talking about just recognizing environment with ghosts. Okay, then recognizing inside a little bit how the ghost is. Tomorrow we'll go more into it. Tomorrow we'll talk more about that 3 points, and then you have more stories. The zombies are not ghosts lah. Wong says zombies are not. Zombies also exist one. In Tibetan culture also there's zombies. I've asked Rinpoches before, they say that they have seen zombies before when they are young. Zombies. So they have to use this long, the nail this long, actually to hammer down the zombies. And usually the zombies are also controlled by certain, what we call necromancers, the people who have control over the dead. Have time, we'll talk about that. Okay, so have yourself a good Sunday evening. See you tomorrow, 9:55. I have to go and do my offering. Share out. Your chance of earning this is easy peasy. Do share out. Whatever I have in stock, I want to, every day is supposed to have 1 winner. So that's why if nobody, that same people keep on writing, that same person will get a whole cabinet full of soaps. Okay, so because I'm giving out anyway. So do your best. Okay, have yourself a good evening. See you guys tomorrow.